I thought my daughter's graduation would be the proudest day of our lives. But when a strange woman and 2 kids showed up at the ceremony, and my husband froze, everything I believed about my marriage shattered right there in the auditorium. I'm Anna Mitchell, a proud mom from Austin, Texas. For the past 18 years, my world has revolved around my daughter, Emily. Every late night at my accounting job, every budget cut, every choice I made was to make sure she could have the future she deserved. Today was supposed to be our reward. Emily was graduating from high school at the top of her class, valedictorian, scholarship to the University of Texas. I'd been counting down the days to see her walk across that stage. My husband, Mark, had been quieter than usual these past few months. He kept blaming work stress at his construction firm, and I believed him. After all, he'd always been the calm anchor of our family, the guy who fixed everything from broken sinks to broken teenage hearts. That morning, our house buzzed with excitement. Emily fussed with her cap and gown in front of the mirror while I snapped photo after photo. Mark lingered near the kitchen, scrolling his phone, but smiled whenever Emily looked his way. "Big day, huh?" I whispered, sliding my hand into his. "Yeah," he said with a tight smile. "Big day." We drove to the auditorium downtown, the sun blazing, the Texas flag flapping in the warm breeze. Family friends were already there, saving seats, passing out small bouquets of flowers. I felt like my heart was going to burst from pride. While Emily went backstage with her classmates, Mark and I found our seats near the front. I squeezed his arm. "This is it. We did it." He nodded, but his eyes flicked over my shoulder. I turned to see a woman I didn't recognize. Mid-30s, dark hair pulled into a neat bun, wearing a navy dress. With her were 2 teenagers, a boy and a girl, both with features that seemed oddly familiar but I couldn't place. I chalked it up to one of Emily's classmates' families. The auditorium filled with music. The principal stepped up to the podium. Still, as I watched Mark out of the corner of my eye, his posture had changed. Shoulders rigid, jaw tight. And every few seconds his gaze darted toward that woman and those kids. I thought it was nothing. Just nerves. But in my gut, a flicker of unease lit up, a flicker I didn't yet understand. The principal finished her opening remarks, and the graduates began filing across the stage. I tried to focus on Emily, but my eyes kept drifting to Mark. His hands were clasped so tightly in his lap, his knuckles were white. He wasn't cheering or clapping like the other parents. He was staring 2 rows back, at the woman and the 2 teens. The woman's eyes kept flicking toward us as well, like she was waiting for a cue. The boy, maybe 16, whispered something in her ear. She nodded, but she looked nervous. The girl beside her held a small bouquet of roses wrapped in shiny paper. I leaned closer to Mark. "Do you know them?" I whispered. He didn't answer right away. He just swallowed hard and forced a smile. "Maybe from work," he muttered, but I could tell from his voice that it was a lie. 18 years of marriage teaches you every micro-expression. My stomach tightened. Emily's name was called. She strode across the stage, tall and confident, her honors cords shining. The whole auditorium erupted in applause. I jumped to my feet, cheering, tears streaming down my cheeks. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the woman stand too, and the 2 teenagers stood with her. They clapped just as hard as I did. Then the boy pulled out a phone and started filming Mark. Not the stage. Not Emily. Mark. Mark sank lower in his seat. "We should go," he hissed. "Go? She's about to give her speech," I whispered back, but Mark's eyes darted around like a trapped animal. The principal introduced the valedictorian, our Emily, and she stepped up to the podium. My heart swelled. She began to speak, voice steady and warm, thanking her teachers, her classmates, and her family. Behind her words, though, I heard a different sound, the click of high heels. That woman was moving down the aisle with the 2 teenagers behind her. She stopped at our row. "Mark," she said, her voice carrying even in the hushed auditorium. "You're going to introduce us now?" The room seemed to tilt. Every head around us turned. Emily paused mid-sentence on stage. I whispered, Who is she, Mark? Mark's face drained of color. Anna, please, he said under his breath. The woman held up a folded piece of paper. We've been patient for years, but you promised you'd tell them. You promised, gasps rippled through the audience. Emily's grip tightened on the podium. I stood, my knees shaking. Tell me what? I demanded. Who are you? She looked at me with a mixture of pity and anger. I'm Claire, and these are Dylan and Zoe, Mark's children. The world roared in my ears. I heard someone drop a program, heard Emily's microphone squeal with feedback. Children? I croaked. What? Mark buried his face in his hands. It was before we were married, he mumbled. It was complicated. Complicated? Claire snapped. You've been paying for our apartment for years. You visited us on business trips. You told me you'd tell your wife after Emily graduated. The crowd buzzed. Parents shielded their kids' ears. Emily's eyes were wide, shining with unshed tears. I turned to Mark. Is this true? He couldn't even look at me. I was afraid, he whispered. I didn't want to lose you. Or Emily. On stage, Emily's voice trembled through the microphone. Dad? She said softly. What is going on? I felt like the ground had opened beneath me. In an instant, every anniversary, every late-night call, every unexplained expense rearranged itself into a new and devastating pattern. Security moved toward us, unsure what to do. But the woman, Claire, just shook her head. We're not here to cause a scene. We're here because he's been living a lie, and our kids deserve the truth. Mark finally stood, turning toward Emily. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry, Emily's face crumpled. She ran off stage, the microphone clattering to the floor. I went after her, but Claire's voice stopped me. You deserve to know before this day. I'm sorry it had to be like this. I turned back just long enough to see Mark, staring at both families, the life he built and the life he hid, and for the first time he looked utterly powerless. I found Emily in a side hallway, still in her cap and gown, tears streaking her makeup. She looked at me, broken. Mom, is it true? I pulled her into my arms. I don't know all the details, baby, I said, my own tears spilling. But we're going to get through this. Together. Outside the auditorium, camera phones were already flashing. News of the graduation scandal would be circulating by evening. Inside me, shock was slowly hardening into resolve. I held Emily until her sobs slowed. The hallway smelled of floor wax and carnations. Behind us, the muffled roar of the auditorium continued, teachers trying to regain control, whispers rising like static. Emily pulled back, wiping her cheeks. How could he? She whispered. How could he sit there all these years and... I don't have the answers yet, I said gently. But right now we need to protect you, not the image of a perfect family. She sniffled, nodding. Her cap was crooked, tassel dangling. Should we go home? Not yet. I squeezed her hand. We're going to walk back in there. You're going to finish your graduation. This is your day, not his scandal. For a moment she stared at me. Then her chin lifted just a little. Okay? We returned to the auditorium through a side door. The room quieted when they saw us. Mark was still standing by the aisle, pale, Claire and the teens behind him. He reached toward us, but I held up a hand. The principal stepped forward. Emily, would you like to continue your speech? Emily glanced at me. I nodded. She walked back up to the podium, shoulders squared. She took a deep breath. I want to thank my mom for always being here, she said, voice trembling but clear. And I want to say to anyone going through something hard, even if it's today, you're stronger than you think. The audience erupted in applause, some people even standing. Mark sat down heavily, head in his hands. I felt a strange calm settle over me. The lies had detonated, but at least they were in the open now. I texted our lawyer before the ceremony ended. We need to meet first thing tomorrow. Urgent. When the ceremony concluded, parents spilled out into the bright June sunlight. Balloons bobbed, cameras clicked. Emily posed with friends, chin high, mascara streaks still visible but eyes fierce. I stayed close but let her have her moment. Mark tried to approach us in the parking lot. Anna, please. Let's go home and talk. I turned, my voice low but firm. Not tonight. You can go to your apartment or to Claire or wherever you've been hiding. Emily and I will be fine. He opened his mouth, but the words died. For the first time in decades, I saw him as just a man. Not a husband, not a protector, just a man who had made cowardly choices. Emily slipped her arm through mine. Let's go, Mom, she said softly. As we walked to the car, camera phones trailed us. But I didn't flinch. This was no longer the end of our story. It was the beginning of me deciding how the next chapter would be written. 3 weeks after the graduation, the house felt different. Lighter, quieter. Mark's suits were gone from the closet. The second car wasn't in the driveway. The only rings on the kitchen counter were mine and Emily's bracelets. The first meeting with my lawyer had been surreal, but clarifying. The will, the accounts, the emails Mark had hidden on our family computer, all of it laid out like an evidence board in a courtroom drama. My attorney explained my rights, Emily's rights, the steps we could take to secure our finances and her college fund. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was tiptoeing through someone else's house. I felt like the owner of my life. Mark called and texted every day at first. Apologies, explanations, promises. I let the calls go to voicemail. When I finally answered, it was with the same calm I'd found in the auditorium. We will handle everything through lawyers, I told him. You have another family now. This one deserves peace. Meanwhile, Emily blossomed. She started a summer internship, dyed a streak of purple in her hair, and posted a fierce photo from graduation with the caption, "Resilience isn't a trait. It's a choice." Her friends flooded the comments with hearts. One Saturday morning, she and I sat on the porch with coffee, sun warming our faces. "Do you think he ever really loved us?" she asked quietly. "I think he loved parts of us," I said, choosing my words. "But love without honesty isn't enough." "We're allowed to expect more," she nodded. "I'm glad you didn't lose it on him." "You just took control," I smiled. "That's our new family tradition." In late summer, the divorce papers were signed. Mark agreed to a settlement and a college trust for Emily. Claire never appeared in court. I walked out of the courthouse not triumphant but steady. My hands no longer shook when I opened official envelopes. By fall, I'd started volunteering at a local mentorship program for single parents. Emily began college visits with confidence. Our home was still small, but it felt like ours. And in quiet moments, I allowed myself to grieve, not for losing Mark, but for losing the illusion I'd been living under. Grief, then relief. Relief, then hope. On Emily's first day of her internship, she handed me a note she'd written. "Thank you for making graduation about me, not about him." I kept it on my desk as a reminder that sometimes the bravest revenge isn't public humiliation or rage. It's reclaiming your dignity, your resources, and your future without apology.